Hello, I am the cartoonist M. Rashid. This one is the first of a series of 7 that I got from bullets I pulled from a comment from one of the 4chan poll guys. The 7th one you've already seen because I mistakenly thought I was already caught up to that point. Of course, it turned out not to be the case. So now I'm got caught up to the beginning of that series. I'm gonna give you the next 6, starting with this one. The bullets, like that particular character who was sporting a U.S. flag emblem in his 4chan post, like he filled his post up with the who's who bullets of white supremacist tropes about black people. So, I put him in the pseudo military garb, just to show that he was about it. He was very confident and like, this is the truth. Meanwhile, none of it's the truth. This is just their mythology rhetoric that they tell themselves so they can like sleep at night or whatever they do in their cave. Anyway, this particular comment, that the idea that my reparations are not owed me because only a fraction of white people owned slaves at the time, is a horseshit. This was a free slave labor economy. My people were slaved or slaves, or as freemen, they were under the severe restrictions of an anti-black slave society. So I wasn't even free. I was like partially free. Because you had to put up with bullshit. And at any moment, those jackasses could just seize me and put me back in chains. And who's going to help me? That's the terror I was living under at the time. And this was by my complicit U.S. government. So it doesn't matter if most of the white people at the time all benefited from this thriving economy based on free slave labor. And the people who may not have directly benefited from it because they were the poorest white people and were like couldn't compete in the markets with slaves. You can't do the labor or I could rent slaves, or I can pay your worthless ass who don't want to do the work anyway. I'm going for the slaves. That's the situation they were dealing with, and they're projecting it on me like it was my fault, which is the nature of the contention with the lowest members of the aristocracy. They're just haters anyway, like no matter which direction you look from. Before we were permanently delegated to the bondsman class, he was a hater. He wasn't going to do it. He didn't want to do it. He didn't want to rise up to do anything. Whereas my original ancestors who were over here were doing the work, wanted to, taking advantage of the wilderness of North America and all the opportunities they saw. That one wasn't. So, but he was mad at me for it. After the slavery became a thing, targeting me specifically by racial phenotype, he's still a hater. Like, no matter what, he's a hater. So that one is a trip. So in his rhetoric of like, reparations aren't owed you because there was only a few people who owned slaves, so you need to find those particular families and make them pay. It's not how it works. It's not how it works. The debt is owed from my government, who made it into a law. It was evil, and they did it anyway. So that's who I'm owed. The government's going to pay, and it's coming out of your taxes because it's supposed to. You don't get to like choose which taxes you pay. And who does that? Literally no one. You're not making a special black code tax just for me. That era is over. Once reparations is paid, it's going to represent a whole new era of the end of your white supremacist bullshit. No more. That's why you're fighting for it, fighting against it. That's because you want. You want to keep the status quo going at my expense. It's over. Dummy. Peace.